Hey Zwifters, welcome back to another Zwift Racing League Recon. It's going to be race 5 on the one lap of the Muckle Yin. Diving into some quick route details, the route is going to be a points race, so there will be points at each of the segments, and it is going to be on one lap of the Muckle Yin, as I said earlier, 23.7 kilometers or 14.7 miles, 282 feet or 282 meters of elevation gain, or 925 feet. Power-ups in play include the Draft Boost, Feather Boost, Steamroller, Anvil, and Aero Boost. Let's dive into the bike choice. Alright, so for bike choice, the most aerodynamic frame and wheel set possible that you have is going to be the optimal frame and wheel set for this course. And that's because while there are climbs and gravel, it's not going to be enough for a gravel bike or a climbing bike to really make a difference in this course. So I'd highly recommend sticking with that aero setup. Now onto the recon. Alright, this is a pretty technical course in my opinion, as there are lots of punches and places where you could potentially get dropped if you're not really paying attention. And for the first 2 miles or so, it's really flat and chill. I said this is going to be the time where the group is going to be settling in and just relaxing. I don't expect anything major to happen in this section. There are a few rollers here and there, but nothing really gets exciting until around 2 miles. This part of the course is a great opportunity to just sit in the draft and really just think about how you're going to use your energy later on in the race. You will go through a banner right here and you'll be able to get a power up, and that power up is going to be the featherweight boost, and that will help you up this climb. Once you reach this medieval looking bridge, it's time to really start focusing on what you are going to be doing on this next section. And it is going to be a short, punchy climb. And I suspect only a few are going to be getting dropped at this point, but I would still highly recommend paying attention here and staying near the front of the group to avoid getting dropped. You'll hit around 9% as the peak, but it'll flatten out and you'll be able to do a little bit more climbing, but then it'll go back to a pretty steep downhill of around a -5, -6% on some sections, and you'll be able to really just get that speed up and just roll into that next climb, which is coming extremely soon. You're going to see here that you're going to start seeing those UCI banners. That's how you know it's time for the KOM, and this is going to be the Breakaway Bray reverse, and it's going to be around a 30-second climb for most people. It's not much of a climb for the sprinters out there. I wouldn't really worry about it too much, considering it is pretty flat, and you do get a nice power up at the top. It's not going to be anything too major that's going to cause a major split in the group. There will be some separation, but not necessarily enough in order to cause a major split. The major split, however, will be coming on the Sgur Summit, which is coming up as we make a right turn into that area of the course. Now, until you reach that point, you are going to be going through some rollers, so it's really just a good time to regroup and just gather yourself together before hitting that climb. And if you are off the back, I'd recommend chasing now rather than chasing later, because you're going to want to catch the group before they hit the climb. You can see here we're about to make that right turn that's going to bring us into that climbing area, and that's coming up very soon. It's going to be at around the 5 mile mark, which is also going to be the around 8 kilometer mark for those riding in the metric system. Now, as you make yourself up this climb, you're going to notice that it's going to be a gravel climb. It's actually really short. I was surprised by how short this climb was, and it's also not too steep. There are going to be some steep pitches, but in between there are some flatter sections, and you really just want to stay closer to the front of the group here. You don't want to get dropped because the descent is really fast. And you can see here we're just going through some rollers, and that's going to get you to get some momentum coming into those steeper sections. So if you're a bit worried about holding on, try to push on those ascents and get that momentum coming into those steeper pitches. And you're going to make around a little roundabout loop, and that's really your signal that it's time to go if you are chasing those KOM points. And if you're really trying to make a split here, this is where you got to make your move and really just dig from here on. And it gets a bit flatter at the finish, and you're going to be finishing pretty quickly, and you'll get a nice power up for the descent. Now, the descent is a great place to cause some separation. If there is a separation in the group, you can try pushing on the front in order to literally solidify that separation coming into that next ascent, to make sure that you have a little lead group solidified, I guess, and you're able to drop a bit more on the next climb to really bring the group down. Now you can see here, you're not going to go right back up the climb. You're going to go through this area that it might be a bit familiar, and you're going to be seeing a power up banner earlier on, and you're going to get a nice power up there, and you'll be able to go through this as a rolling section. It's going to be a really mild section. It's going to be a great chance for you to really just get ready for that next ascent, because it is coming later on in the course, not necessarily quite now, but as I said earlier, a bit later on. You're going to make your way up another bridge area, little medieval look here, and it's going to be another 8 to 9% ascent. You're going to get to the top, and it is going to flatten out, but then come back up again to around 3 to 4%. Don't worry too much about this section, because your group is going to be quite a bit smaller after that first Gur summit. So just know that it's not going to be a huge swarm of riders coming up this climb. It's going to be probably around 30 or 40 riders coming up this climb, depending on your division. Most riders will make it up that climb okay. Maybe a few who are really struggling will get dropped on that climb. But other than that, I don't see anything really meaningful happening there, because there are some fast ascents after that, and it's really hard to make a split in that section. You're going to make your way up the Breakaway Bray forward version, and this is going to be a bit longer than the reverse, but it still is going to be pretty short in my opinion. A solid 40 to 50 second effort when you are going at the speeds of a group. If you are finding this video enjoyable or useful, please smash that subscribe button. I'm trying to hit 1,100 subscribers by the end of the year, and I'd really appreciate it if you help me with that journey. Let's continue on with the video. You're going to see here, you're going to come up this part again, and it's going to be 7 to 8%, really similar to that medieval looking area, just sort of the reverse direction, I guess. But a lot of the roads in Scotland do look very similar, so please forgive me if I am mistaking some of these locations in the course, as it is pretty confusing in my opinion. Another steep pitch here, but it's going to bring you right up a little section here. So I like to think of this sort of as the UCI Harrogate course, where it's kind of like steep downhills, but then really gradual uphills. So you're going to be able to carry most of that momentum into this climb, and I really wouldn't recommend punching up this climb, because you're really not going to get anything out of doing that, because the group is going to be so big that, like, as you go down the hill, you're going to gain so much speed that you're just going to carry most of that momentum all the way throughout the top of the hill, and it really won't be much of a gap if you do try to push the pace. Now, it does continue to be a gradual climb, so this is the part where the group is slowed a bit. So once the group settles down, that is an opportunity for you to attack if you are feeling good as a team and feeling like you could really make something happen, as we are approaching that next climb, and this is really a great opportunity where you can actually make a difference here, because if you're able to attack before you hit the Skur climb, you are able to create a really significant gap, and that's going to really put pressure on the group and really just make things a lot more interesting and fun. You can see here, as we make our way up this next ascent, it is going to be quite a bit shorter coming this way up. It's going to be around 1 kilometer in length, or 0.6 miles. And you can see here that, like the other side, there are some steeper pitches and some flatter pitches, but overall I say this side is a bit steeper, and it has a nicer finish where you can actually really get some momentum going if you start your sprint early enough. Alright, another nice ascent here. It's going to be gravel, and for those of you who are thinking that you might want to use a gravel bike for this course, I wouldn't recommend it, because Zwift has recently changed gravel so that it does roll faster now on road bikes, so the gap is even smaller between using road bikes and gravel bikes, so you really aren't going to get a lot out of having a gravel bike. However, if you really are just chasing those KOM points, you could try that, and let me know below in the comments and report back to me if that does end up working. You can see here another just gradual incline here. We have a lot of these in Scotland, and it's really going to be a good chance for you to try to attack if you're feeling good, because those are points where the group is slowed, but also not slowed to the point where it's a climb and everyone's expecting an attack. It's slowed to the point where riders are a bit more relaxed and not necessarily paying the most attention. Do be on the lookout though, because you're going to make your way up the Clyde kicker, which is sort of a double climb. It's like you have a smaller short steep pitch at the start, and then it flattens out a bit and you have a steeper pitch at the end, and that's going to make it pretty tactical, because you could either put in most of your power at the start or most of your power at the end. I'd recommend doing it at the end so you don't blow up and lose a lot of positioning. Now, after that, you will go up a lot of rollers as you lead into the finish, so I really just recommend holding onto the draft here and just holding on for dear life and getting some speed up as you make your way into that finishing stretch, because with 0.3 to go, or 0.5 kilometers, there is going to be a small climb that's going to slow you down quite drastically. So if you're off the back here, you want to be really locked into that draft. Finishing sprint here is going to be extremely fast, and I'd reckon we're going to see some really fast times in that sprint. However, that sprint is not worth any points, only finishing points at that point in the race, because WTRL doesn't offer points when the segment is part of the finish. I recommend starting your sprint right at the round when you make that left-hand turn, and that's going to be a great place where you can have enough time but not necessarily blow up at the end. If you enjoyed this video or found it useful, please smash that subscribe button, and with that, see you all next time. Good luck and ride on.